What's up, guys? It is Chris back with another watch video. Today we are taking a look at an Abercrombie & Fitch Seafarer. This is a vintage watch, circa 1955, sold at Abercrombie & Fitch, and it was made by Heuer. So before we get into it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is much appreciated and very helpful. In addition, please follow me on Instagram at WatchChrisBlog. So, founded in 1892, Abercrombie & Fitch was self-proclaimed the greatest sporting goods store in the world. Some of their clients included incredibly famous people such as Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, John Steinbeck, Teddy Roosevelt, Ernest Hemingway, just to name a few. The store was located in New York City, and it was there to cater to the adventurer, the traveler of the time, and obviously the elite. Abercrombie had a slogan, and it was, "The Abercrombie & Fitch type does not care about cost. He wants the finest quality." There was a bookstore, a golf school, a watch department. There was even a pond to test the fly fishing equipment that you could buy in the store. It was there that you would go if you needed a snake-proof sleeping bag, something that actually Teddy Roosevelt bought there. Hunting rifles, flight jackets. It's actually where Amelia Earhart bought her flight jacket. Or a hot air balloon. So you could buy a watch, some fly fishing equipment, and a hot air balloon. A really diverse line of products, really for the elite, for the traveler, the people who were rich and looking to spend their money traveling. It was in the watch department where Abercrombie & Fitch sold a line of watches made by Heuer in Switzerland, specifically for Abercrombie & Fitch. Heuer ruled the field of purpose-built sport watches from the 1940s to the 1970s. Its timepieces designed specifically for Abercrombie included the Solitaire, the Seafarer, the Automark, and the Autograph. According to Christie's, the auction house who sold many of these watches, in the late 40s, Abercrombie & Fitch asked Heuer to make a watch based on the Solitaire theory, developed by John Alden Knight. Essentially, what that theory was is that the movements of animals and fish are in part determined by the positions of the sun and of the moon. Knight established the Solitaire charts to indicate the best times of day and month to go hunting and fishing. It fell on 15-year-old Jack Heuer, the great-grandson of Heuer's founder and the legendary future CEO of Heuer, to recruit his brilliant high school physics teacher to create a new watch that could indicate the tides. The Solitaire would represent Jack Heuer's first contribution to the family business and to horology. The rotating subdial at 6 o'clock, and this is on the original, the rotating tide indicator is at the 9 o'clock on this watch, displays a high and low tides, and it could be easily set by a pusher at 4 o'clock, and the pusher on here is at 9 o'clock as well. This complication was combined with a chronograph to create the Abercrombie & Fitch Seafarer. That's what you're looking at now, which is the most hotly desired vintage model made by Heuer for Abercrombie & Fitch. So essentially, this model is the number 2444. This is the second generation of the 2444. This is a chronograph, and it is powered by Valjoux 72. It's a hand-wound movement, and it was a very popular movement to use during those times for chronographs. And what Jack Heuer did was develop this movement to add on the complication for the tides at 9 o'clock. Previous versions had a little bit more of pop of color. There was some orange triangles in some of the subdials rather than just these blue. Previous versions were a little bit larger, So this is a 36 millimeter. Previous versions were 38 millimeters, and then there were versions that came after this that were even larger at 40 millimeters. And those actually had a bezel with a bezel insert, which was a little bit different from the look of this watch, and it was actually quite larger, 4 millimeters larger, which is pretty substantial, even by those standards. Those days, they were not making watches that large. 36 millimeters, however, this is not that small in general, but it does wear larger because of all the crowns. So you do have a very large crown and then some pushers on either side of the watch. So really quick, I'm going to do a wristwatch check. Today I am wearing my Citizen. This is the GPS version with a EcoDrive movement that I recently purchased. Integrated bracelet. Actually, pretty much the opposite of the watch that we're looking at right now. Very, very heavy watch. 43 millimeters, I think, and extremely modern because this is actually very, very accurate because it hooks up to satellites and it uses light to actually charge its batteries, and you never really need a battery. So it's kind of completely different from the Heuer. This is also a world timer and just an all-around cool watch. Not that the Heuer isn't; it's an extremely cool watch, I think. Just a very, very different watch because it is such a classic watch compared to that super modern Citizen. It's kind of a fun difference to look at. Anyway, so I'm going to throw this on my wrist. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. This is a 36 millimeter watch. You're going to see that it doesn't look incredibly small on my wrist. It does look small, I will say. It does not look huge, but it is a still yet a substantial watch. And this watch has a really beautiful. And there we go. And there you can see on my 7.5 inch wrist, does not look bad. And these are extremely popular because they look so retro and preppy and just really, really, any of these have a great story because of the way they were sold at Abercrombie & Fitch. And you can see this has a plexiglass crystal on it, and there's a little bit of a crack in it, but this in general is a pretty good example of the watch, and it looks really, really good. Most of the lume has come out on this watch. There is just a little bit of lume on the indices. I don't know if this was ever relumed. The hands are actually lumed as well. But like I said, a lot of these were actually sold at auction. I've actually looked at eBay and one just recently sold. So they are out there. They are pretty rare just because there weren't a ton of them made, and since Jack Heuer was actually directly involved in developing this watch, it is something quite special. It was really his first contribution to horology, and Jack Heuer went on to make some really incredible watches that are pretty amazing, and now Tag Heuer, which is formerly Heuer, have lost some of that glory, and this is really a return to that glory. Well, not a return to glory. This is where they were at their prime, it's not signed anywhere Heuer, but these are made by Heuer, and you could see on the dial it says Abercrombie Fitch Seafarer. Just a really cool watch, and just a really, really different vintage watch. And I thought it would be really cool to make a video about this. Anyway, like I said, please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Let me know if you have any questions about this watch. The history behind it, is it pretty incredible? Who knows who else bought one of these while they were in there buying a snake-proof sleeping bag or a hot air balloon or a flight jacket. It's pretty cool to think about that. Some of the really important figures in history probably purchased one of these or tried one on. Could have tried this one on. Who knows? Very, very cool. Anyway, Please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at WatchChrisBlog. It is much appreciated and very helpful. Have a good one.